Chapter 31. This is a talent. Hello. Let's get to know each other. I'm Lanhi from the Lanshi Gu Guild. My account is Lan Xiaochuanxue. Just as he agreed to the friend request, the other person's message arrived. Without saying any nonsense like, "Are you there?" He went straight to the point, directly introducing himself. It could be seen that this was a very confident person. Hello. Yushu replied very simply. After all, he had been in glory for 10 years, one of the 3 major guilds. Lanshi Gu was still a must-know. As for Lan Xiaochuanxue, who she was, Yushu didn't know very well. If it was Huang Xiaotian and his sword Saint Yuchi fan, Yushu was more familiar with her. Lanhi obviously didn't know that the person he was about to meet was a much higher expert than him. After all, his name Lan Xiaochuanxue in the game could scare a bunch of people. Lanhi was confident that the other party already knew who he was, so he carried out the next step of the exchange. Is bro busy with something? Playing a dungeon. Yushu didn't stop chatting, sending the message as Lord Grimm and Zhu Yin. He entered the forest of the forest of the forest at the same time. Which dungeon? Lanhi asked. The forest of the... This question made Lanhi feel very sad. It would be a bit long to say. It could probably be told all day. First, Junemo Zhao's team took the lead twice in Spider Cave, causing the Lanshi Gu Guild to lose face because they couldn't do anything in this instance. Everyone felt angry. But when they deliberately asked about Junemo Zhao, who was on the board 3 times in his team, the people of Lanshi Gu discovered some unusual things in there. The one who took the lead was this guy and his teammates, who were actually the ones who had conflicts with him before. That guy named Yuzhong Mian, who was yelling and yelling all the time. The content of the scolding mentioned the hidden boss. Over time, it was indeed when Junemo Zhao single-handedly snatched the Dark Knight Cat Demon. The spam content said that Junemo Zhao deliberately killed the entire team to get the boss. Such a shameless and despicable person. How could Yuzhong Mian still play with him in the same team? During the process, no one knew what happened, but at least it proved one thing. The team that took the first place twice in this Spider Cave instance was not a familiar team, but a wild team, and a wild team with internal conflicts. Yet the team was able to take the first place twice. Their strength was truly not simple. And Junemo Zhao was clearly the focus of the team. This shameless guy killed the entire team because of the hidden boss, but was still able to be accepted again. What did he rely on? Besides this, there was another detail that the people of Lanshi Gu carefully discovered. The wild team that took the first 2 times in this Spider Cave instance. The order of names on the team list when it was listed was not the same. At the top of the list was definitely the team leader. The first time, the team leader was still Yu Zhongmian, but the second time, the team leader changed to Jun Ma Xiao. The position of the team leader must be chosen very seriously, can kick people, can adjust the team's distribution, but this team is willing to give up the team leader position to a shameless person who once robbed the boss. What does that prove? Everything proves that they rely on this person. Without this person, they would not be able to take the lead. This person is truly a talent, and very likely a talent without a guild. Talents with guilds. There is no way to go to open up the land and mix with the wild team. Talents with guilds. There is no way to not play for 24 hours. The people of Lanshi Gu, after a day of listening, observing, and analyzing, finally came to this conclusion. This is called, 1,000 soldiers are easy to get. A general is hard to find. This kind of talent should really be actively sought after. That's why Lanhi sent 18 requests to add friends in a row. Requests to add friends. If they didn't agree or didn't refuse, it was either invisible or choosing to ignore. Lanhi decided to use this method to let the other person feel his sincerity. Indeed, his method was successful. 18 consecutive requests to add friends, causing Yushu, who originally didn't even bother to look at it, to finally agree. However, when the other party asked why he was looking for him, Lanhi naturally wouldn't say such a long and complicated thing, only saying that the new area had just opened and had already taken the top 3 times. One could tell it was an expert at first glance, so he hoped to be friends and so on. I don't dare to hide it. We're preparing to challenge the record through the current version of Frost Forest, and we're lacking a top expert like you. If we can break the record, the purple items will be given directly to you. How about it? Our guild just wants to break the record. Lanhi wasn't in a hurry to pull people into the guild. Having played Glory for a long time, everyone knew which famous experts each other's guilds had, but had never heard of Lord Grimm. Lanhi guessed that this guy was either a guild expert who had come to the new area to play for fun, or an outsider expert who was not interested in guilds and only wanted to mingle with the wild troops. The first type would directly ignore them, and they definitely wouldn't be able to pull them in. As for the second type, who were not interested in guilds, they would definitely taste defeat. Therefore, Lonnie decided to invite people to enter the dungeon together first to increase their friendship. Everyone was an expert, and they cooperated happily, so they could easily understand each other without saying much. Furthermore, they still had to personally witness this person's strength to see if he was worth pulling in as they had speculated. As for the purple item that had been promised, this was a card to show people their sincerity. The Frost Forest, at most, was only a level 25 purple item. The only difference was whether it was strong or not. There was no need to calculate so much over a few low-level items. If that person was truly a grandmaster, he definitely wouldn't care about this. But this was already the only card that could be played in the current dungeon. Receiving this invitation, Yishio's eyes suddenly lit up, and he quickly replied to Lanhe's message. I don't need purple items. If possible, I want something else. What is it? Lanhe asked. Rare materials. Yishio said. Haha, you're also a sensible person. Lanhe could see that this person was indeed an experienced person. Not to mention low-level purple items, the most valuable thing right now is those rare materials. These were things that could be used in the later stages and would never be eliminated. 72 strong spider silks. Yishio offered a price. No problem. Lanhe agreed very readily. Although the strong spider silk is also considered a rare material, it appears in the newbie area's dungeon, can enter the unlimited version. Moreover, even the common boss has a certain drop rate. It can be said that this is a rare material with a cheap price. At a mithril metal of the White Witch. Yishio said. Okay, I can give it to you now. Lanhe replied to the message while laughing. The medal and the sword that Yishio got from the skeleton warrior were all decorations without attributes, completely worthless. Only a few girls like to take them as jewelry. Add the white wolf sharp teeth too. 1-8. Yishio said. This thing. You want both the strong spider silk and the mithril metal. Now you also want the sharp teeth. Isn't it a bit much? Lanhe lost interest. Clubsuit, 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 clubsuit. Chapter 32. Bargaining. White Wolf and White Witch were both hidden bosses of the Frost Forest. Something like a mithril medallion that had no practical value. Lanhe didn't feel any pain at all, but White Wolf's teeth were very valuable. Frost Forest wasn't a dungeon for players to learn like the dungeon in the beginner's village. Each person could only enter it 4 times a day, and it was hard to encounter a hidden boss 4 times, let alone 2/3 of the bosses encountered might not be White Wolf. If Yishio only wanted the White Wolf's 8 sharp teeth, Lanhe wouldn't hesitate. But wanting 72 strong spider threads and also 8 sharp teeth, Lanhe only felt that this guy had bottomless greed, truly worthy of being someone who would kill the entire team for a hidden boss. Even if this guy's skills are good, but his character is not good, is it appropriate to attract such a person into the guild? Lanhe had already begun to hesitate, and Yishio on the other side also slowly sent a message. A lot? Then I don't need the medals anymore, okay. Lanhe was half laughing and half crying, and quickly replied, Brother, we are all sensible people. It doesn't matter how much or how little of this metal you want, but the strong spider silk and the White Wolf's teeth. Then how many do you think is appropriate? Yishio asked. Choose one of the 2. Lanhe said. This is really hard to choose. Yishio said. You can't have both a fish and a bear's paw, bro. Lanhe said earnestly. Then the White Wolf's teeth. Yishio said. Okay. Lanhe sighed. How many strong spider silks are enough? Yishio continued. Lanhe almost vomited blood. How about 40? Yishio asked. Brother, you really? Lanhe suddenly didn't know what to say. 30. 25. Is this okay? Yishio asked. Lanhe was silent for a long time, his hands on the keyboard, but he couldn't find a suitable answer. 24. Lanhe suddenly softened. The other person had already reduced the number little by little. As someone from the Lanshigu, he was haggling over the strength of the spider silk. Wouldn't that be embarrassing? Lanhe tapped the keyboard. Okay, let's do it. Okay. Only then did Lanhe breathe a sigh of relief, but another message popped up. Then give me some more mithril metals. You don't need them anyway, right? Lanhe fell off his chair with a thud. Who was this person in the end? Mithril metals had no value, yet he was still trying to take advantage of them? Why do you need so many of these things? Lanhe couldn't think of anything, so he asked. In your eyes, this thing is completely useless, but in the eyes of some people, its value will be very different. Yishio said. Lanhe naturally knew that Yishio was referring to girls who liked jewelry. Did this guy really want to pick up girls? Forget about one. But if he wanted this many, how many girls did he want to pick up? Lonnie secretly despised this guy and asked, "Then how many do you want? Didn't you say it was fine? Then give it all to me." Yushio said, "We don't have many, only 2. Lonnie couldn't help but lie, and at the same time, he hated himself for saying it's fine. This thing was indeed worthless, but it was still jewelry. Giving it to the girls in the guild was also a good choice. It would be a pity not to give it all to this guy. Yushio responded with absolute silence, causing Lonnie's face to turn red to the tips of his ears. This lie was really too clumsy, but the words had already been said. Lonnie had no choice but to shamelessly defend himself, just like that. If a hidden boss appears, how will it be distributed? Yushio asked another question. Everyone roll the dice. Lonnie answered very decisively. Absolute silence was still absolute silence. Lonnie sighed. How could one person who tried hard to gain an advantage be fooled? Rolling the dice, it looked fair. But the 4 of Lonnie were close to each other. On this side, only that guy was an outsider. Rolling it was 4-1, they obviously had the advantage. That guy also knew this very well. Haha, I was just joking. Lonnie quickly made a joke. If a hidden boss appears, the record might not be able to be won. Wouldn't that have made you waste your efforts? The items dropped by the hidden boss will be for you to choose first. How about that? Okay, let's decide on that. Yushio agreed. Then when will you come? We're all in the Frost Forest. Lonnie said. Wait a minute. I'll come out after I finish this dungeon. Yushio said. Okay. Lonnie nodded, finally looking at Yushio in the friend list. Do you want to change jobs first? No need. Let's do it for now. Lonnie was stunned. Hey, no need to say any more. I'll try to finish the dungeon first. Yushio replied. So Lonnie silently closed the message window, thinking about it and feeling that something was wrong. After thinking carefully for a while, he suddenly slapped his thigh. What are you doing? My main purpose was to invite this guy to play the dungeon together to increase my affection, but in the end, I focused on paying the fee all day. The nature completely changed. It was like inviting someone to work. Did their Lanshigu need to invite others to work? Just thinking about that, Lonnie suddenly felt regretful about the reward he had just bargained for. It felt like it was a free gift. But suddenly remembered, the condition to get these items, break the dungeon record. Lamha was startled. Missing one person, breaking a record, or whatever were just their excuses. This time Lam Kikak had 40 experts coming to the new area. How could there be a shortage of people to form a team of 5? Missing people was just a basic reason. Breaking a new record was another reason for everyone to have the same goal to strive for, so it would be easier to understand each other. To be honest, Lamha did not feel that inviting just one person would be able to break the record. At 12 o'clock in the morning, the number of times entering the dungeon returned to normal. Lamha had led the most elite team of Lam Kikak to attack the Frost Forest 3 times. The time difference was quite stable with the current record of Trung Tao Duong. If it was really possible to change just by inviting one person, then wouldn't this person's strength be stronger than the elites in the guild like them? Lonnie felt that Jun Imo Shao was a talent, but he didn't see that this talent would be stronger than the elites like them. But in the end, this guy was haggling with him over the fee. Could it be that he was serious? He was only level 20, and he also said he wouldn't change his class. How could he still feel that he could change his record? Lonhee, how did you contact that guy? At this moment, the teammate beside Lonhee, a master of the continent system, asked. We've invited him. He'll be here in a moment. Who among you will give him your seat? Lonhee looked towards the other 4 people. Oh, I'll rest for a while. One person said. After Lonnie said, this person immediately left the team. The remaining 4 people squatted in front of the dungeon door, waiting for Jun Imo Zhao's arrival. Lonhee was still hesitant in his heart. Chapter 33. Come to make a joke. After Yushio knocked down the Dark Night Cat demon, he quickly picked up 3 of its claws, adding the 6 from before to a total of 9, which met his requirements, which was really good. In addition to this, he also had 4 Dark Night Cat demon claws, which he didn't need, but someone would need. After helping those people break the record, the request to exchange goods would definitely not be rejected. After thinking about it, Yushio let Lord Grim leave the dungeon. In Juyin he directly left the game. He rested for 10 minutes to remove the danger state, then returned to the novice village, using 1225 skill points to learn it all. Players who reach level 20 will have 1250 skill points. Lord Grim has 5 points left thanks to the skill book, which is considered a bit ahead. After completing the skill preparation, he immediately left the novice village, officially entering the glory continent. From now on, the system will no longer support the distribution of the crowd. Surrounding the entire Frost Forest are only people and people. Many of Glory's dungeons do not have a fixed entrance. For example, Frost Forest. This forest is a dungeon. You can enter from any direction. Where is everyone? I'm in Frost Forest. Outside Frost Forest is very lively. After leaving the novice village, the trading market also gradually started. The outskirts of Frost Forest became the first market. Quite a few people set up trading stalls. Yushio walked around the two stalls. The prices were all messed up. People who didn't understand thought that selling low would mean losing out, so they raised the prices very high. A knowledgeable person wouldn't be selling rare materials at this time, only selling a few level 20 equipment. But these equipment would catch the eyes of players who leveled up through quests. After all, quests only reward green equipment, one level lower than blue equipment. Like Lord Grimm, thanks to the dungeon leveling up, he had a full set of blue equipment. After browsing through a few stalls and not finding anything, a message from Lon he had been sent, reporting the coordinates to Yushio. Yushio hurriedly ran over. In a moment, Lord Grimm appeared in the sight of the Lanhe team. The four of them immediately took a deep breath. The first expert of the 10th district that they valued was really too modern. His whole person was a mix of many styles. What kind of trick was this? The four of them gaped at the equipment on Lord Grimm. In Glory, there was no function to check or appraise player information. Players had to rely on the naked eye to investigate, based on the shape and details to identify the equipment. Junemo Shao was fully equipped with all 5 types of cloth, leather, chain, heavy, and light armor. This style was quite common in the novice village, but in the Glory continent, it was a different story. Because the players who left the novice village were all level 20 and had changed jobs, after changing jobs they couldn't wear random clothes, because each job would specialize in a different type of equipment. So most normal people would choose equipment that suited their job. Occasionally, they would wear something different because of some special requirements. But like Junemo Shao, wearing all 5 types from head to toe, there was really no one. While the four of them were still confused, Yushio had already controlled Junemo Shao to come to his side, put on his headphones, and hey auditioned. I heard it. Lon he continued. Hello everyone. Yushio greeted. Hello. Let me introduce myself, he show, Dang Huayi, Laming Dian Guang. They are the most elite experts of our Lanshi pavilion. Lonnie introduced the 3 people one by one. Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Wait for me a little longer. Sorry. Yushio stopped moving after saying one sentence. The other 3 people took advantage of the fact that Lord Grimm had not yet joined the team and frantically typed sarcastic words in the team channel. You didn't find the wrong person, did you? Dang Huayu asked. Nonsense. His profession hasn't changed yet? Laming Dianguang asked. He said he'll see later. He's like this. Can he help us break the record? Dang Huayu was extremely skeptical. If he can't, then forget it. Our goal is to see how deep he is. Lonnie said. We don't know about the rest. I can see how deep or shallow his ID is. Laming Dianguang said. What? Lord Grimm? You're telling others not to laugh. Is this friend here to be a laughingstock? Laming Dianguang said. Don't judge a book by its cover. He hasn't changed his profession. It's very normal to dress like this. Lon he also didn't know if these words were just a convenient excuse for him. Junemo Zhao's messy body also made him unable to adapt. In the Glory continent for so many years, he still had not seen anyone dress so freely and fiercely. This guy doesn't change profession. Is he planning to play as a rogue? Zhou, who had not spoken until now, suddenly spoke. He was also a fairly experienced player. He knew that a long time ago there were people who played as rogues. Rogues? That way of playing is outdated. Isn't it because level 50 doesn't have awakening quests so you can't level up? Dang Huayi didn't have as much experience as Zhou, but his knowledge was extensive. He knew a little about the past. At that time, Glory's Area 3 had just opened. For the first time, Glory increased the level limit from 50 to level 55. And characters who wanted to level up after level 50 had to complete the Profession Awakening quests. Because there was no Awakening quest, the highest level of the rogue stopped at 50. 5 levels. This was a difference in equipment and skills in Glory, but this was just the beginning. In the future, the level continued to increase. The rogue and other professions would continue to have a difference. Everyone was clear. The rogue had already lost its value. Could it be that he planned to play until 50 before changing professions? Dang Hoada said. Then won't he lose attribute points? Laming Dian Guang was suspicious. The attributes of each profession increased differently. If you stripped off all the equipment of a level 50 swordsman and a level 50 elemental mage, you would immediately see the difference in attributes. The rate of increase of the rogue's attribute points was different from any other profession, in a way that they would only change professions after reaching level 50. So could the points increase in the 30 levels from level 20 to level 50 be adjusted? Hey, who knows? Is there still someone who cares about this problem now? Deng Huayu said. Everyone was silent. They were experts, elite experts. But this matter really didn't matter much. There was no need to care. Who reached level 20 without changing classes? It's been many years since we've seen someone like this. What are we guessing for? Wouldn't it be over right away if we just asked directly? Deng Huayi walked straight in front of Junimo Xiao. Dude, if you don't change classes, are you planning to play as a rogue? There was no response. Brother, are you there? Deng Huayi shouted. Just told me to wait. He probably isn't here. Lonnie said. If he's a rogue, he'll bring all the weapons, right? Laming Dian Guang curiously circled Junimo Xiao twice. Junimo Xiao's hands were empty at this moment, not holding any weapons. Because Yushio's heavenly umbrella had been put into the equipment editing system by him. The weapon that was just put in was immediately no longer in its original form. The equipment editing system would automatically scan out the structure drawing of the heavenly umbrella. The heavenly umbrella was quite complicated. It would take several pages to fully display it. And at this moment, Yushio was carefully taking out the Dark Knight Cat Demon's fingernail that he had obtained in the Jelen Forest, carefully picking it up and starting to bring it towards the sharp end of the umbrella spokes in the structure drawing of the heavenly umbrella. Chapter 34. Hit Harder. 1, 2, 3. Yushio's face no longer had the usual lifeless and bored expression. His eyes did not blink. His expression was extremely focused. His right hand was steady. He put in the Dark Knight Cat Demon's nails one by one. Not too far off. Not too far off. After placing the 8 nails, Yushio breathed a sigh of relief. His right hand moved, clicking and rotating the structure image of the sky umbrella. Bit by bit, he pulled out the 8 spokes that supported the umbrella from the connecting shaft, then removed the connecting shaft. The connecting shaft had an exquisite shape, but after Yushio took it out, he quickly threw it into a nearby frame. In another box parallel to it, contained the Dark Knight Cat Demon's Cat's Eye Stone that he obtained from the Dark Knight Cat Demon. Clicking on the Restore option nearby, the progress bar appeared. The Cat's Eye Stone began to be rotated and polished continuously. After the progress bar was completely loaded, the stone that had taken the exact same shape as the connecting shaft was removed from the heavenly umbrella. The old connecting shaft was put into the material storage of the equipment editing system by Yushio, and the restored connecting shaft made from Cat's Eye Stone was attached to the top of the heavenly umbrella. 8 spokes were inserted into each hole one by one, making small click sounds. After inserting the 8 spokes, the structural drawing was restored to its original state. Yushio carefully checked it again, and finally let out a sigh of relief. Looking at the structural drawing in the editing system, Yushio lit a cigarette, staring blankly. The essence of homemade equipment lies in the editing of the structural drawing and the research of the necessary materials. In terms of researching the heavenly umbrella, most of it had been completed, and the parts that weren't completed had already been planned for implementation. Right now, the only thing he didn't know was how to level up to 50 after winning, because after all, when he was researching and creating the heavenly umbrella, Glory was only level 50. Yushio reached out and selected Confirm in the equipment editing system. The progress bar appeared again. On the screen was an animated image of the heavenly umbrella structure drawing moving. The progress bar ran all the way through the tree. The image stopped. A few small places that needed to be edited had changed. It was the top of the umbrella support frame and the 8 Dark Knight Cat Demon claws sticking out from the edge of the umbrella. Yushio closed the editing system, returned to the game, and looked into Lord Grimm's bag. The attributes of the heavenly umbrella had not changed at all. Hovering and clicking, Lord Grimm shook the umbrella in his hand. The surface of the umbrella turned upside down and transformed into a battle spear. The tip of the battle spear, the 8 claws of the Dark Knight Cat Demon were embedded into the umbrella ribs, sharp, and curved, emitting a cold light, extremely formidable. Looking at the attributes of the Sky Umbrella again, it had clearly changed. The Sky Umbrella Battle Spear form, level 15. Weight 2.3 kilograms, attack speed 5. Physical attack 290, magic attack 220. Compared to the umbrella form, the magic attack did not increase much. but the physical attack suddenly increased by 110 points. Compared to the white, green, blue, purple, and orange battle spears of the same level, it was 25 to 5 levels higher. Lord Grimm's weapon suddenly appeared, startling the 4 Lanhi people who were watching. Then looking at the battle spear in this person's hand, even an elite expert could not recognize it. Brother has returned? Lanhi walked over to continue and threw out an invitation to the exchange group. Yes. Yushio replied and then entered the group. First, join our guild. Okay? That way, when you break a new dungeon record, our guild name will appear. Lanhi said as he threw another invitation. Only after leaving the beginner village from level 20 can one build a guild. Naturally, Lan Shigu and the others had already prepared for this. They established Lan Shigu as soon as they left the village. Understood. After Yushio confirmed, he became a member of the Blue Stream Pavilion. If the members of a 5-man team were all from the same guild, when completing games like challenging records, the guild name would be added. Then let's start now, huh? Wait a minute, Yushio spoke up. He had already observed the equipment of these 4 people and could guess their occupations. Lan He, swordsman class, level 20 purple weapon flame sun, belongs to the sword light line in the saber and sword system. Pearl class, priest class, holy word class, level 20 purple weapon holy light cross. Dang Huayi, holy knight class, holy word class, level 20 purple weapon righteous guardian, belongs to the battle axe line in the holy word system. Thunderclap lightning, elemental mage class, level 20 purple weapon red copper staff. Other than weapons, the equipment and accessories on the 4 people were mostly blue, with very little purple, which was very suitable for them. Their choice of professions. The 10th district had only been open for a day and a night, and the equipment they were wearing had already reached this level. Obviously, it wasn't because the 4 of them were very strong, but also because the entire guild had prioritized their equipment. What's the matter? Dang Huaye couldn't help but say, if you want to break the record, I suggest we adjust the class coordination a bit. Yushio said. How? Lanhi asked. No need for a priest. Yushio said bluntly. Before the Hezhou priest could open his mouth, Dang Huaye had already spoken directly. No need for a priest? Are you kidding? Forget about the priest. Adding an attack specialized class will increase your speed. Yushio said slowly. Brother, this idea of yours doesn't seem to be trustworthy, right? Lanhi also continued, quite patiently. The pressure is a bit great, but everyone is a master. Focus on running and dodging a bit. There might not be a need for healing. Yushio said. Everyone doesn't need healing. Healing is for MT. Yeah, that's why. What I mean is MT doesn't need it either. The damage of the Holy Knight isn't that strong. Change to someone who can fight harder. Fuck yeah. Dang Huaye had just put on a front to defend the weak, but in the blink of an eye, he was also criticized as weak. No need for MT? Only when killing small monsters do people rely on techniques, but when killing bosses, what should we do? Who can't control their hatred points? What about you? Yeah, Yushio said. What do you mean? Dang Huaye was extremely angry. Then I'll control my hatred points. Yushio said. The group of people had no place to talk anymore. Yushio was right in the group right now, and furthermore, in their guild, the 4 of them couldn't find a place to gossip anymore. Lanhi frowned and said, You mean, a team of 5 people all DPS? That's right. A team like that is the fastest to clear the map. Yushio said. Do you think this is a dungeon in the beginner's village? Dang Huayi exclaimed. No matter what dungeon it is, if everyone is strong together, it will naturally be the fastest. Yushio said. That's true, but the problem is, can everyone still be alive when they finish the dungeon? Lanhi said. Of course they can, but I hope I will be the commander. Yushio said. Lanhi was also shot. After kicking the 2 people out of the team, this guy even took the command from him. All right. Dang Huayu suddenly shouted loudly, on the contrary, I want to see what kind of ability you have, Hisho. Leave the team and call someone. After speaking, Dang Hoada escaped from the team. Hisho was still hesitating, when Lei Ming Dian Guang said to Dang Hoada, Hey, so you left the team to avoid dying and losing experience. Stay strong. Dang Hoada both despised Lei Ming Dian Guang and urged Hisho, get out quickly, I've called someone. Chapter 35, A Wave of Rushes, 1. Hisho was clearly not as agitated as Dang Huayi, still in the team, sending a message to Lanhi. What do you think? Lanhi asked back. I'm very curious, but unfortunately, I was abandoned. so I can't see it with my own eyes. Isho said. Don't you feel like he's just pretending to be cool by saying that? Elon said. It's not like that. Maybe it's because he hasn't changed jobs yet, which makes him have the guts to not need a priest, and in times of crisis, he can temporarily take over that role. Isho said. Yeah, I also don't think it's necessary for him to waste everyone's time by himself, so let's try it. Lonnie said. Then I'll leave. Isho finished speaking and left the team. Yoon-Goe is here. Most of the people in the guild have already run out of times. At this time Deng Huayu spoke. Yoon-Goe was originally an elite member of their team. Because he left his position to make room for Junimo Xiao, he had returned now. There was still a spot left, but it was not easy to find someone in the elite group. The elite group were all experts, very active in playing the dungeon at this time, except for Lan He and the others who had intentionally left one time. Either the number of times was enough, or they were playing the last time. As a result, the experts saw Deng Huayu calling for people and started to curiously listen. Everyone knew that Deng Huayu's team already had 3 characters who dealt very high damage. All 3 of them were online. Why did they need to call for more people? Is there anyone who hasn't been to the Frost Forest? The more violent the better. Come quickly, challenge the record. Deng Huayu didn't explain, just spammed the guild channel with all his might. I'm coming. Finally someone spoke up. Deng Huayu looked and saw Trinoyet Quinton. That was a little girl, in a place where experts gathered like the elite group. The ratio of female players was quite rare. Being a girl would be very welcomed by everyone. Each team fought back and forth. Leading girls into the dungeon was like receiving benefits. In the end, that expert girl had never had a fixed team before. Quinton, huh? Then I'll go over. Deng Huayu also talked a lot, reporting the location. Yoon-Goe saw that Trinoyet Quinton was about to arrive, so he joined Lam Ha's team. Yoon-Goe was originally a member of this team and understood the situation. Trinoyet Quinton was a bit surprised. This team had no MT nor healer, and there was also an unknown profession, but no profession? Great God. Do you think these 2 people are suitable? Deng Huayu teased Junimo Xiao. So Yusho seriously considered. Oh, all right. Yoon-Goe was also an elemental mage. His weapon was the level 20 purple water spirit staff. Both were level 20 staffs. The basic attributes of the water spirit staff were not much different from the red copper staff. The only difference was the accompanying attributes. One was to increase the skill Fire Explosion Alter by 1 level. The other was to increase the skill Frost Snowball by 1 level. From the choice of staff, it could be seen that the elemental paths of these 2 mages were not the same. As for Ji Yuqingqing, he was a magic scholar. This profession was also a branch of the mage system. He was called a scientist among mages. He used many magic tools to fight, and he also had a certain level of close combat ability. Ji Yuqingqing used a level 20 purple quartz staff as a weapon, not the magic broom that magic scholars specialized in. So Yusho couldn't guess her skill path based on her weapon, so he asked another question. Which school? Dark Element Body Technique. Ji Yuqingqing said. Is there a cultivation technique? Yusho asked. Cultivation technique was a provocation and monster-attracting skill for magic scholars. Add by level. Ji Yuqingqing replied. The meaning of adding by level was that when the skill could be upgraded, points were immediately added to this skill. Ah, that's great, Yusho said. Is the great minister satisfied? Deng Huayu asked from the side. Yes, okay, let's get ready to go in, Yusho said. Up until now, Ji Yuqingqing still didn't understand what was going on, but she heard Lan He announce, everyone listen, this time's dungeon is commanded by Lord Grimm. You're the commander? Ji Yuqingqing was surprised. Yes, Yusho said. Why? Trinoyet Quinton was a little confused. Because of the record, Yusho said, and had already entered the dungeon. Hey, Lan He called back, but the person had already disappeared into the jungle, obviously already entering the dungeon. Lan He was really upset. Before entering the dungeon, there should be a discussion. Once entering the dungeon, the timer would start, and discussing at that time would be a waste of time. The great god has already entered. What are you waiting for, mortals? Hurry up and enter. Deng Huayu laughed loudly and said, Let's go find him later. Lan He cursed and hurriedly entered the dungeon with the 4 people. The little monsters in the Frost Forest were green-skinned ghouls, with close range attacks, ranged attacks, and could cast spells, all kinds of magic, clearly not like the monotonous cyclical rules of the novice village. Moreover, the ghouls' appearances were exactly the same. If they didn't try to fight, they wouldn't know what type of opponent they were. After the 4 people Lonnie entered, the dungeon officially started counting time. Everyone was not stupid at the door. They took advantage of every second to hurry up and set off. When they heard Yushio's instructions, with a magic scholar, it's easy to fight. Let's use one wave of rush. Lonnie was startled and jumped up. How is one wave of rush used? You don't know one wave of rush? Yushio was even more surprised than Lonnie. Lonnie, of course, knew. Glory's one wave of rush was to pull all the monsters over, then kill all the monsters gathered in one wave. But this method of fighting could only be used in lower-level dungeons, and it required a strong MT. Never heard that dungeons of the same level could use one wave of rush. One wave of rush is... I understand, but I don't understand why we use one wave of rush, Lonnie said. I pull the monsters, then 2 Lulu gathers the monsters, fire magic fiery shock, ice magic snowstorm, then. You say it as if you haven't said it yet. If you're okay, then you pull the monsters. We'll use one wave of rush. Lonnie's face was full of tears. He naturally knew these basic procedures, but the key point of a wave of rushing was the monster puller, being able to pull a bunch of monsters back and still survive. That was a whole problem. In the end, people just lightly said 4 words, I'll go pull monsters. To summarize this problem, even if Lonnie said it, it would be a waste of time. Well, if I die, I die. Lonnie sent a sweat like a waterfall emoticon to express his current mood. The other 3 people saw Lonnie say that they had no choice but to accept their fate, lining up to send a series of sweat like a waterfall. Even Yushio tapped, smiling, shouting loudly, Go! Lord Grimm ran off. Lonnie's group watched his back. The feeling of a warrior who never returns was just like this. I have to say, this person is really brave. I admire him. Laming Dian Guang sneered. Keep up. There was a shout from the front. The 4 people lifted their sweaty faces and chased after them, and saw Lord Grimm approaching the 2 dwarfs. Of the 2 dwarfs, one started throwing rocks, the other threw ice arrows. The 4 people said in unison, What a tragedy, just came up and already met 2 ranged ones. Rocks and ice arrows flew out, and suddenly they saw Lord Grimm's body sway twice, and the rocks and ice arrows flew past his body. Damn, no way? Zigzag. Lonnie cried out in fear. Chapter 36, A Wave of Waves 2. Zigzag shake is actually just an action to change direction while moving to the left, to the right, and at the same time to jump forward, finally drawing a zigzag line. But if the action is too fast, the movement amplitude will become very small. The character changes direction in a flash. It doesn't look like moving, but just a little shaking. If the action is fast enough to make the character look like it is shaken, then ordinary players can do a lot. But to be able to use zigzag shake in actual combat, of course, one must be a great master. Relying on the smallest movement amplitude to avoid attacks, it goes without saying that this person's operations and judgments are very accurate. Not only Lan He, the 3 people of Laming Dian Guang are also people who know how to judge goods. At this time they are also terrified by this skillful operation. Junimo Shao has already rushed in front of the 2 dwarfs, raised his hand and struck out a palm. A powerful circle of air spread out. The 2 dwarfs were sent flying with a bang. Level 15 skill of the combat mage, Falling Flower Palm. This skill has an extremely good flying effect. The dwarf's body is small and light. Being hit by a palm strike will send it flying several meters away. Junimo Shao did not stop, continued to charge forward for a while. There were 2 more dwarfs over there. When they discovered the player entering the hostile range, they took out their big sticks. They were 2 melee type. Therefore, at this time Junimo Shao did not approach them anymore, continued to charge straight forward. The 2 dwarves that were blown away earlier also got up. One was preparing to throw rocks, the other was still chanting an ice arrow. Lord Grimm was about 2 meters away from them when he pulled out his spear. 2 boom-boom sounds. The dwarves' rocks could no longer be thrown. The ice arrows were also interrupted. Lord Grimm swept his spear across again, toppling the 2 monsters and stepping on them as he ran past. The next target was the 2 dwarves at 10 o'clock. This time one had a stick drawn, and the other was casting an ice arrow. When the ice arrows flew out, Lord Grimm had already jumped up directly, conveniently flying over the head of the dwarves that were charging with their sticks. In midair, he stabbed a spear, causing the dwarves that were launching ice arrows to be interrupted, then fell behind the dwarves. One of the 2 dwarves turned around. The other was holding a stick and chasing after them. June Grimm raised his hand and used Falling Flower Palm again. The 2 monsters were sent flying, and without any deviation, they just happened to hit the 2 ranged dwarves just now. Those 2 poor dwarfs, Their skills had not even been released yet before they fell down. Just like that, whether they were on guard or patrolling, all the dwarves were either dragged or beaten by Jungrim. All of them were alarmed. The melee dwarves simultaneously screamed and chased after Jungrim with their sticks. The ranged ones were busy using their moves. The frost forest instantly became extremely lively. The Lanhi group chased after them, all of them hesitating. It was undeniable that, if we were talking about technique, Lord Grim was truly talented, but causing the dungeon to be so noisy that chickens and dogs were barking, no matter how you looked at it. It looked like a team of high-level players had come to sweep the dungeon. At this time, the four Lanhi groups could no longer see Lord Grim. In front of them was a group of screaming goblins, constantly chasing forward. Where was Lord Grim? The Lanhi group could only know that this guy was still alive from two places. One was the team list. Lord Grim was still more than half healthy, still alive and grinning. Two was that occasionally they saw Lord Grim's figure jumping up and down, only to be blocked by the goblins. Hey, there are already more than 20 of them. Yungui's voice trembled a little, only level 20 into the dungeon and already acting like this, too fierce. Still haven't killed him yet. Jiu Qiqing had already prepared two Lulu. Now I want to know what he's going to do next. Laming Dianguang looked at the road filled with dwarves before him, his voice filled with admiration. Don't tell me you're just going to throw two Lulu out like that? It won't work. Jiu Qiqing was impatient. Because the dwarves' attack methods were both far and near, and now they were divided into two groups, one group carrying sticks to chase them away, the other group still maintaining their distance. Lord Grim had to run out of their ranged attack range to be able to run a few steps. What? Are you all asking me? I don't know anything, Lonnie said. As soon as he finished speaking, Laming Dianguang suddenly started jumping around, wanting to see what the situation was behind the pile of monsters. Such a funny action, but at this moment, no one could laugh. Lonnie hurriedly asked, "What's the situation?" "The monsters gathered together look very beautiful," Laming Dianguang said. Huh. Lonnie also had the urge to jump up and take a look, but as one of the 5 great masters of the Blue Stream Pavilion, the guild leader of District 10, he needed to save some face, so he only asked slowly, "How did you gather?" "How would I know? No matter what, the monsters come in groups." Laming Dianguang jumped and spoke, and suddenly everyone heard continuous palm sounds. Fallen flower. Damn it, this palm strike is so cool. Laming Dianguang shouted loudly, and the other 3 people also saw the group of dwarves in front of them immediately fall into chaos. This falling flower palm sent flying who knows how many dwarves. The dwarves holding sticks flew backwards and collided with the long-range dwarves, and immediately fell in droves. The 4 people's vision instantly went blank, only to see standing in front of the pile of monsters was Lord Grim, holding a spear in his right hand, pushing forward with his left hand, his robe flapping, still maintaining the falling flower palm form, surrounded by a mess of goblins. This image stopped for less than a second, but Lord Grim's majestic form instantly imprinted in their minds. However, in the next second, the goblins that had fallen left and right stood up, fearlessly preparing to charge forward a second time. Lord Grim jumped up. Laming Dianguang took the opportunity to mock him. "What are you doing? Is he preparing to fly over here?" The result. He flew. He really flew. Laming Dianguang shouted with tears streaming down his face. After jumping up and facing them, Lord Grim suddenly turned 180 degrees, a gunshot rang out, and his entire person suddenly flew back towards them. The Lonnie group all had some knowledge, and immediately saw that this was the aerial movement technique of the archer group, firing in the air, using the recoil of the gun to make the whole person fly backwards. The greater the recoil of the gun, the farther the backward distance. This time, Lord Grim's rifle was at least of a higher grade. This backward flight went straight through the top of the monsters' heads, and when it landed on the ground, it had already reached behind the 4 of them. The crazy dwarves turned around, charging forward like a tide, and the people they greeted were the 4 Lanhi people. The 4 people were sweating profusely, and immediately heard Lord Grim's voice. "Mage attack, prepare to release 2 Lulu." Everyone hurriedly looked attentively, and were suddenly terrified. At this moment, the ranged dwarves who were still chanting spells, and the melee dwarves were still running over, all the small monsters just happened to surround them, forming a circle. It was definitely the best opportunity to attack in a group. Clubsuit, 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 clubsuit. Chapter 37, A Wave of Rush 3, Quick Attack. Lonnie hurriedly shouted. The most difficult part of a wave of rush was luring the monsters. Yet this person without a profession had easily completed it. But killing so many monsters in one go was not an easy task. It was definitely not possible to just rely on two mages fighting with one spell each to kill them all. Laming Dian Guang and Yun Gui did not dare to delay. One used Flame Shock, the other used Snowstorm. The two skills belonged to two different systems. Although they were of the same level, their effects were not the same. Fire magic focused on explosive power. As soon as the fiery shockwave was released, a fire magic circle appeared under the dwarf's feet. Whoosh sound rang out. A towering flame suddenly burst out from the ground, more than 3 meters high. The group of shocked dwarfs all floated and screamed in the fierce flames. But this skill was not fireworks. The pillar of fire disappeared after a second. The dwarfs fell to the ground. Yungui's snowstorm also rumbled. At this time, hail mixed with snowflakes, each like dumplings of various sizes, mercilessly smashing onto the dwarfs. The attack of fiery shockwave was only a flash, while the snowstorm lasted for 4 seconds, falling one every second. In terms of total damage, the snowstorm was higher, but the instant attack was clearly stronger. This was the characteristic of the ice and fire systems. Tululu, Yushio shouted. Zhiyu Qiqing had already prepared well. Hastily threw out Tululu, accurately, throwing it right into the middle of the monsters. Tululu was like a rag doll. It had the effect of forcing the hatred of monsters within a 2-meter radius onto it. Of course, there were conditions. First, Tululu's level could not be lower than the monster. Second, Tululu was ineffective against elite, boss, or lord-type monsters. One had to use the additional passive skill, Improved Tululu, of the magic scholar to do it. Currently, Zhiyu Qingqing's level was still not enough to learn Improved Tululu, but her Tululu increased with level. In terms of level, there was no problem. As soon as one was thrown out, all the goblins ran towards Tululu. It can only last for a while. Zhiyu Qiqing hurriedly shouted after throwing it. The effective time of Tululu was super long, 20 seconds. But the problem was that this doll's health was not much. Monsters attracted to hatred naturally wouldn't just watch but would attack. With so many goblins, Tululu was instantly destroyed. Laming Dian Guang's fiery flame shock and Yun Gui's snowstorm would naturally have a freeze time. One needed 6 seconds, one needed 8 seconds. At this moment, the two of them were frantically using small spells to attack another target to attack. Facing so many goblins, they were clearly powerless. All right, Yushio said as he let Lord Grim charge forward. Thanks to Tululu, the goblins became more orderly than before. The melee fighters surrounded Tululu. The ranged fighters also started to attack Tululu. Tululu had just entered the battle for a second before being smashed to pieces. But Lord Grim had already rushed towards them. His battle spear gone, he held a pair of tonfas in his hand, grabbed a dwarf, twisted his body, and used Knockdown. Knockdown caused a shockwave to appear on the ground. The dwarfs instantly fell in droves. Swordsman, prepare the silver light falling ring. Immediately release. Yushio shouted. Lan He, who had not had the chance to use it until now, was slightly startled when he heard this, but quickly reacted, holding the flame sunlight sword and hurriedly charged forward. All the dwarfs were standing up in an orderly manner. Lan He had already jumped into the air, looking precisely at the middle of the monsters, pushing the sword out with both hands. The sword seemed to be flying, quickly falling right in the middle of the monsters. Swordsman's skill, Silver Light Falling Ring. The higher the Silver Light Falling Ring jumped, the stronger its power, the larger the range of the shockwave it generated. Lan He was indeed one of the great masters of the Blue Stream Pavilion. Yushio only needed to shout to immediately understand his intention. A move called Silver Light Falling Ring was used extremely perfectly after the shockwave spread out. The little monsters that had just gotten up fell back down to the ground. Using skills consecutively, there was no need for high damage, just needed to make the monsters fall from start to finish without being able to attack. However, whether it was Knockdown or Silver Light Falling Ring, it needed freezing time. Relying on these two skills alone could not completely control the monsters. Xiao Lulu's freezing time was very long. It needed 30 seconds. In a short period of time, it could not be relied on. Does this guy still have other class-limited skills? Lan He thought so, quickly recalling in his mind whether among all the skills before changing classes, there was anything like Knockdown or Silver Light Falling Ring. As a result, he heard someone continue to command. Nightcloak. That's right. Lam Ha suddenly woke up, saw Tri Noyet Quinn Ton step forward and waved her hand. A purple-black cloak flew out from her sleeve, sweeping away and covering many of the dwarves. Along with the cloak was a bit of monster restraint. The dwarves were compressed into a mass and screamed loudly, falling down together. Then the freezing time is not too bad. Lamha calculated the freezing time of several skills and suddenly heard the next command, Flame Shockwave. The freezing time of Flame Shockwave really had just ended, and it was released according to the command. After the incantation time had just ended, it had caught the group of dwarves that had just stood up stubbornly. The pillar of fire reached the sky. The dwarves spun in the air, fell to the ground. Another 2 seconds passed. He only now realized, so this was considered a control formation. A master, a real master, but he could use skills that originally did not have the characteristics of a control formation and strike out with the effect of a control formation, completing a wave of rushing with a leveled copy. He was truly too powerful. He knew clearly, at this point, as long as no one made any mistakes, wave of rushing would be considered over. He understood. Could it be that those people did not understand? With astonishment, under Yusho's command, he struck out move after move. The ghouls kept standing up and falling back to the ground, struggling nonstop. Only until things were scattered all over the ground did the 4 of them regain their senses. 20 ghouls were actually all killed by wave of rushing. Let's continue. The other party felt that this was very normal, shouted and immediately went back. The 4 of he hurriedly caught up, glanced at the map on the ground and didn't see anything valuable, so they didn't pay any attention to it. While breaking the record, how could one waste time on these things? At the same time, Dang Huayu sent a message from outside the dungeon. How is it? Are you still alive? Great God. You're really great God. He replied. What are you talking about? A wave of rush. A wave of rush. Ahead of yours. What are you talking about? Dang Huayu couldn't understand. We used a wave of rush to defeat the dungeon. He said. Are you kidding? Dang Huayu didn't believe it. Wait until we go on TV, ha ha ha. The player Glory saw the system notification as going on TV. Dang Huayu blankly closed the message window. Yusho beside him asked, How is it? They used a wave of rush to defeat the monster. Dang Hoada said. A wave of waves? Yusho was also stunned. Chapter 38. How to Fight. The speed of the dungeon attack increased to an astonishing level. Lanhe's eyebrows arched in joy. Yusho on this side also felt less worried. Lanhe's group of 4 people were much stronger than Tianqi and Yu Zhongmin's group in terms of equipment and techniques. They only needed to use one wave of rush once, and he wouldn't need to call them again. After the 4 people understood the intention, they were able to judge the situation themselves and grasp the timing to act. They only needed to use one wave of rush twice, and all the small monsters on the path of the Frost Forest were completely annihilated. Lanhe looked at the time, less than 5 minutes. The small monsters were no longer a concern. Their next problem was the boss. The first boss, Patrolling Dwarf, was a bit stronger than normal dwarves, holding a wolf fang staff in his hand, with extremely high physical attack. Although this kind of boss doesn't have any fancy skills, just standing still and spinning the staff has already made many teams helpless. There is only one reason, because according to the normal team's fighting style of using MT to attract hatred, to deal with such a high attack boss, one can only rely on physical strength and defense to deal with it. If it doesn't meet the requirements, one can only rely on technique. Something like technique is not something that can be had if one wants to. In a situation where the requirements are not met, only experts can respond in time. Normal players can only stand by and collect their equipment. In terms of technique, Lanhe will not have any doubts about Lord Grimm. No one at level 20 can attract more than 20 dwarfs to surround him. Who dares to say that this guy doesn't have technique? Lanhe will not agree. Facing the boss, Lanhe is not worried that Lord Grimm's technique will be killed by the dwarf patrol, but is only worried about whether the hatred can be stabilized. Just one careless move, and the patrol's stick will hit the mage. That is a temple kill. I'll lure the monster. Everyone do your best to attack. Yusho said. Wait for how many seconds? Lanhe asked very professionally. MT would let himself be injured for a few seconds when luring the monster, in order to concentrate enough hatred points on himself to avoid the others from OTing right after using a big move. No need to wait. Lure me and attack immediately. Yusho said. Lure me and attack immediately? The 4 people exclaimed in surprise. If you want to break the record, you have to seize every second. I'll go lure. As soon as Yusho finished speaking, he tapped the keyboard to make Lord Grimm charge forward. The 4 people of Lanhe were a bit startled, but still did not dare to be careless. After defeating the little monster, they saved quite a bit of time. They still felt that they just needed to steadily attack the boss. So the four people were extremely tacit and did nothing, just watching as Lord Grim rushed towards the dwarf patrol and raised their spears. Dragon Tooth, Heavenly Strike, Lightning Chain, Swinging, Stabbing, Heavenly Strike again. Waiting for what? Hearing the loud shout, the Lonhi people seemed to have just woken up from a dream, not knowing what to do at all. Ever since Lord Grim started luring the monsters, the dwarf patrol had been somersaulting in the air. This was the magnificent Infinite Sky chain attack. The four people couldn't help but want to see how many times Lord Grim could chain attack, wanted to see when the boss would fall. But when someone called out, the four people finally realized that they weren't here to enjoy the video clip, hastily chanted a spell, took out a magic item, drew their swords, and charged forward. Fire, falling ice, star bullets, light swords. The four people attacked in unison, coordinating their attacks in a reasonable manner, no one obstructing anyone else's vision. But everyone was a little cautious in their hearts, worried that if they attacked too hard, they would attract the boss's club. Although Jun Mo Shao told everyone to do their best, he was not a professional MT after all. Professional MTs were like knights, not to mention that after changing professions they would gain a lot of hatred control skills. Before level 20 they would also have some hatred-related skills. These skills, on the contrary, people who did not change professions like Jun Mo Shao could learn, but he did not bring an effective weapon to perform these skills. Therefore, the four people who fought the monsters were a little bit lenient, not using all their strength, being extremely professional and stopping at the level of hatred control. While fighting, they suddenly heard Jun Mo Shao say, "Fight with all your might. There will be no OT." The four people saw this friend's confidence. They couldn't help but give him face. So they gritted their teeth and fought hard. Everyone started to grit their teeth and madly use all their firepower. Glory didn't have any supporting information about hatred. The statistics of treatment could only wait until after the new version. The four of them were all experts, each with their own way of fighting. Before everyone was afraid of OT, now they wanted OT, as if without OT they were all fake experts. As a result, the dwarf patrol still didn't look at any of the four. The stick still only hit towards Lord Grim. Lord Grim moved extremely fast. What was even more powerful was that no matter how he moved, it didn't affect his attack on the patrol. His entire body had never stood still, always constantly moving around the dwarf. Lonhi was also in the attack class. The more he looked, the more terrified he was. This tactic of Lord Grim, the system boss can respond quickly, still turn around to catch up with him, no matter turning left or right, so the effect is only to avoid the boss's attack. But if it is PK, this tactic will turn a normal player until he vomits. It seems that this guy is also a PK expert. The dwarf patrol finally fell down. In the end, the group did not get his attention. The four of them were embarrassed to say that they were surrounding and attacking. They tried their best, yet the person being beaten did not know of their existence. "Brother, how can you attract such hatred?" Lonhi could not help but ask. He felt that if there was a professional MT like Dang Huayu here, his violence would also cause him to OT a few times. "Just hit harder than you guys." Yu Xiao answered him. Lonhi was stunned. Yun Gui was also shocked. Jiu Qiqing was speechless. Lei Ming Dianguang sneered. So he's not only an MT, but he can also deal high damage. The four people had tears streaming down their faces. That's right, so he only fought more violently than them. Jun Mo Shao didn't stop and continued to fight the three dwarfs. The four people quietly discussed behind him. "He actually fought higher than us," Yun Gui muttered. "Moreover, he's quite a bit higher, otherwise the hatred wouldn't be so stable," Jiu Qingqing said. "I admit his technique is very good, but to be able to rely on damage to pull it off so steadily, his attack power is definitely very high." "Does anyone know anything about his battle spear?" Lonhi asked. "I don't recognize him. It looks very strange, like a big garlic plant," Lei Ming Dianguang said. "Is the garlic you grow the same?" Yun Gui said. "That's an exaggerated art, understand?" Lei Ming Dianguang said. "Go away." Yun Gui disdained. "Shut up, lure the monsters, focus on it," Lonhi said. Jun Ma Xiao in front started the one-wave rush again to lead the monsters. The four of them did not dare to be careless, although they had succeeded twice, but they all knew that this was very risky. Any mistake in the skill could cause a few monsters to lose control. The consequences would be unimaginable. Pull monsters, gather monsters, destroy monsters. Everyone displayed their strength very well. After 2 one-wave rushes, they destroyed all the monsters along the way to the second boss. Facing the second boss, The four of Lan He were no longer humble. As soon as they went up, they used all their strength. The result. The four of them quietly followed Jun Maxiao. So fast, the record will definitely be taken by us. Laming Dianguang suddenly felt happy. Moreover, the difference in innovation is huge. Lan He was extremely happy. Van Kui was also very satisfied. Tri Noyet Quinton didn't know what to say. She said something, she didn't want to mention it anymore. Chapter 39. Ice Frost Camp. The final boss of the Ice Frost Jungle is the Dwarf Lord Ice Frost Camp. From its popularity, it is clear that the boss of this instance is more valuable than the hidden boss in the beginner village. The figure of Ice Frost Camp is not much different from the normal dwarf, but its face is more ferocious, more like it is plotting something cunning. At least it is not like the normal dwarf that has a funny-looking green nose. Because Ice Frost Camp's entire skin color is deep blue, when it turns around, it doesn't need to have a bright face to look like a cute pet. But most players know that it is not cute at all. In Ice Frost Camp's right hand is an ice blade, as tall as its short body. When it swings its hand, it brings a gust of cold wind, able to attack far beyond the player's vision. Because it has some special attack methods, the first MT to attract hatred will definitely be controlled at this point. Therefore, in the Frost Forest Occupation Guide, it is recommended that the team bring 2 MTs, so that when facing the number 1 boss, the Dwarf Patrol in the Ice Frost Camp, the pressure can be reduced quite a bit. As for Yishio, how could he be like the normal players who rely on the guide? He looked at the 4 people standing in front of him, and as soon as he shouted, "Go!" Lord Grim charged forward with his spear. That was also because the quality of each team member was really high. If it were Tian Chi's group, not only would they have to explain more, but they would also need to be watched closely during actual combat. Compared to that, the Blue River group would be much less worrying. The 4 Blue River groups did not say much, and immediately charged forward together. Lord Grim charged forward first to make the Ice Frost Camp notice him. This boss's speed was several times faster than that of a normal dwarf. Its 2 short legs looked like 2 moving wheels, and in the blink of an eye, it had already rushed in front of Lord Grim. As a result, the next second, Xiayin Bingshuang was thrown into the sky. So strong. The Lanhe people silently watched and silently praised. Even though it was just 1 strike, compared to Xiayin Bingshuang's speed and dexterity, it was not easy to deliver such a strike. For this type of boss, just pulling the monster was already a difficult point. If it was the Lanhe people's MT Dang Huayi, during the trip to the Ice Mist Forest, it would take the 3rd attack to hit, then a series of small attacks to create hatred points. This was already considered a very good achievement. Changing to a normal team, MT beating to the point of destruction would not create enough hatred. On the contrary, the result would usually be that hatred would be transferred to the priest to heal MT. On this side, Lord Mo Shao was tossing the Ice Shuang Camp into the sky, along with a few pursuit skills, launching a series of consecutive attacks in the air. But the Ice Shuang Camp was a famous boss. Dealing with it with just a few tricks of continuous attacks in the air would be enough? Suddenly, in the middle of the air, it suddenly emitted a green light, and its figure immediately disappeared. The Lanhe group was not surprised that the Ice Spruce Camp even had this teleportation skill. While looking for the location where it had moved to, the 4 of them heard a plop, the sound of being stabbed. When they looked over, they only saw that Lord Grim's battle spear was still stabbing on the Ice Spruce Camp's body. The Lanhe group was stunned. They turned to look at the same place, where there was a Lord Grim standing in the same position. A clone. The 4 of them could naturally see it. They had seen this kind of skill many times. It couldn't surprise them anymore. What surprised them was that Lord Grim was able to chase after the Ice Spruce Camp's teleportation the first time. Thinking of this point, the Lanhe group was a little shocked. They knew that before the Ice Spruce Camp teleported, there were also some actions, just like when a mage cast a spell. When chanting an incantation, they would also raise their hands and feet to point here and there, from which they could guess the location where the spell was released. But this was an instantaneous magic after all. The action was just a short blink of an eye. As a result, Lord Grim could still clearly know the location where the opponent moved to. Wasn't this just a theory? The instantaneous movement of the Ice Frost Camp naturally had a freeze time. After using it once, it lost its magic. Being beaten by Lord Grim, it was in a passive position on all sides. It was estimated that it had been a boss for so long and had never been this helpless, wanting to throw a knife, wanting to cast a spell, but all of them were destroyed by the opponent 1 step ahead. Everyone, let's go. Lan He discovered that the four of them seemed to be enjoying a solo battle video again, so he hurriedly called out and charged forward together. Fighting with the Ice Frost camp was originally a battle on the brink of hatred. A team of experts who only brought one MT like the Lan He team needed to carefully judge the hatred between the MT and the Ice Frost camp in order to avoid OT. But now, with a DPS as strong as Lord Grim that made the Ice Shuang camp unable to even make a move like them, the four of them no longer worried or hesitated. Even though the Ice Shuang camp's main hatred was not for them, they still couldn't help but miss a few times. The Ice Shuang camp's movements were really too fast, and it wasn't the kind of stupid boss that would stand still and risk death after MT had drawn hatred. Teleportation. Teleportation again. Lan He's group cursed. The Ice Shuang camp's teleportation would be used immediately after it was unfrozen, but today it had encountered an opponent. Lord Grim used his clone to cast teleportation, not slower than it. In the end, only the four of Lan He were left, frustratedly tapping the keys to change their running direction. And this had happened many times before. Pay attention, it's almost red blood. At this moment, Yushio suddenly said in a low voice. Yeah. The four of them answered, such an important issue as red blood, they had naturally paid attention to it long ago. When the Bing Shuang camp is in a red blood state, when casting a spell, it will enter the Overlord body state, so it cannot be interrupted by normal attacks. Furthermore, its speed is also faster. With an additional spell, it instantly creates an ice tornado. For the players who are besieging and killing it, it can be a fatal blow. Quickly retreat. Lan He suddenly saw the eyes of the Bing Shuang camp flash with a fierce light. The large ice blade brandished a few slashes, and the ice tornado was about to rise. He hurriedly shouted and led everyone to move away from the Bing Shuang camp. The other three people were not close combat. They were not so nervous, but they were also focused. This ice vortex did not have a specific target of hatred. As soon as it appeared, it moved in all directions. Who would have thought that suddenly there was a loud bang? The ice vortex did not appear, and Bing Shuang was knocked down and lay face down. Knocked down, Lord Grim used the knockdown move. This skill could break the tyrannical body state in the boss. What are you running for? Haven't you learned the skill of Fiery Wave Slash? Yushio said in confusion. Lan He knew that this was referring to him. Fiery Wave Slash was a skill of a ghost swordsman. It could break the tyrannical body state. Because it was a skill below level 20, swordsmen like Lan He could also learn it. Moreover, swordsmen would usually learn level 1 of this skill, not hoping to cause damage, only specializing in breaking the tyrannical body state. The tyrannical body breaking skill could of course interrupt the tyrannical body state during the casting time, but the problem here was Bing Shuang. It was the Ice Shuang camp, but when MT pulled a monster, they would often turn their hatred into healing. Who would dare to bet on the whole team that they could hit and destroy the tyrannical body skill? Lan He was actually not that uncertain, but because there was a possibility that he would accidentally destroy the entire situation, he chose the safest method and ended up being criticized. Lan He felt a little embarrassed, so he shamelessly replied, "Yeah, I haven't learned it yet." A teasing voice rang out, but the other three also understood Lan He's thoughts and didn't tease him for too long. "You have to learn it. Breaking tyrannical body is very useful," Yushio said. "I know. I don't have enough skill points right now, so I won't learn it for now. I'll level up when I get back." Lan He's face was red to the ears. He was being taught basic knowledge. Chapter 40, Record of Change. Lan He resentfully replied and continued to attack, wanting to throw out a Lai Ba Zhan when Bing Shuang used his ultimate move again to save his honor. But he only hated that he had just said he had not learned Lai Ba Zhan. Now that he suddenly used it, how could he explain? Did he accidentally learn it without realizing it? Damn, so clumsy. Lan He felt like blushing just thinking about it. The biggest threat after Bing Shuang exploded was completely dispelled because of Jun Mo Zhao's display of immense confidence. It also had no new tricks left. Under the violent siege of 5 people, it finally fell. The equipment fell out, but the Lan He group didn't care. Everyone was staring at the system information window. Congratulations to the Lan Shi Gu players Lan He, Lei Ming Dian Guang, Jun Mo Xiao, Yun Gui, and Jiu Qing Cheng for breaking the record for clearing the Ice Mist Forest instance, with a score of 20 minutes 24 seconds 11. The 4 Lan He people personally experienced the entire process of clearing this instance. From the moment the first wave of monsters were completely annihilated, they knew that as long as there were no mistakes, Breaking the record was inevitable. Originally, this result was not surprising to them, but the level of breaking the instance still made the whole group extremely excited. The record above was 26 minutes 12 seconds 48 for Zhong Qiaotang, and in the end, they were 5 minutes faster in just one go. What kind of record could be raised to such a great level? With the experience status of the Lanhe group, they all knew that this thing changed 8 to 10 times, which was still considered little. The difference each time was basically only 1 minute. Going straight up to 5 minutes quickly and concisely like the Lanhe group was really a bit unreasonable. Compared to them, the other players were completely shocked after seeing the system news. After Tianqi and the others changed their professions at 20, they left the novice village. After finding another person, they entered the frost forest and were fighting until their heads were broken in the dungeon. They hadn't even passed half of the dungeon yet. When they suddenly saw that news appear, Tianqi and the others were stunned. The new ghost Xinyu who was playing with them exclaimed, "Look, it's a great god. A great god is on TV." The new ghost with words like "on TV," on the contrary, learned it very quickly. "Yeah, that's right." Tianqi and the others replied in frustration, their hearts bitter. Lanshigu. Of course they knew that this was one of the 3 great guilds of glory, and only such a top guild could match the strength of a master boss. As for a second-rate guild with a second-rate character like them, being able to be brought on TV by a master boss twice should be enough, right? The 3 of them were feeling depressed, while Xinyu on the other side was still muttering. "Ice Mist Forest? Isn't that the instance we're playing?" "That's right," Tianqi said. 20 minutes. We've been playing for 20 minutes. How far have we gone now?" Xinyu asked. "Half." Tianqi was troubled. Look, this was the bad habit of getting to know a master boss. With a ratio of 1 and 2 like this, the results were completely different from the same level, so suspicion would arise towards the game. This was very serious. The 5th person in their team, a priest named Yi Wei-Yang, had been focusing on healing the entire time, not saying a word. At this time, hearing the 4 people discussing, suddenly interjected a sentence. "The record of the bosses occupying the head mainly depends on that person to get it?" Tianqi was stunned. The 3 of them were indeed on TV. Just like when Xinyu joined the team, he had worshipped them. This matter put pressure on Tianqi and the others when adding people to the team. Once like Xinyu, going in and seeing the names of the 3, they would think that they had joined a divine team. But without a master boss, how could everyone be divine? At that time, it was very awkward. After the priest joined the team, he did not utter any surprised comments, only chatting normally for a few sentences, followed by a few sentences of exchange while fighting monsters. Tianqi and the others even thought that this person who did not pay attention to them was a member of the Capturing the Head team, feeling both disappointed and fortunate in their hearts. Who asked someone to suddenly ask such a thing? It turned out that they had long noticed the identities of the 3. Furthermore, they followed their team of 3, only taking 20 minutes to cross half of the Frost Forest, but Lord Grimm on the other side only took 20 minutes to break the TV record. Just like that, the direct reaction came out. Lord Grimm in the first team was a real expert. The rest were just trash. The embarrassing moment had finally come, and the 3 Tianqi could only reply, "That's right. It's all thanks to that big brother. Fuck, I told you. I've been following you guys for 20 minutes. I can't tell where you guys are experts." Yi Wei-Yang said, "You're too straightforward." After being honest, they felt even more embarrassed, and Tianqi and the others were annoyed. All right, listen to my command next." This Yi Wei-Yang suddenly became very animated. "Why?" everyone asked. "I am the master Yi Wei-Yang of the overbearing scheme. Before I wanted to see your strength, that's why I didn't say anything. I've been patient with you for a long time. What kind of nonsense command? Let me do it, let me do it." Yi Wei-Yang said. "Fuck, the original commander." Tianqi was extremely upset. Who is this guy? Who would call themselves an expert? Compared to that, the master boss is so humble, only using actions to show off. No need. Tianqi was completely not intimidated by the other party's overbearing scheme reputation. "Big brother, don't be like that. Let's quickly finish the game. I still have work to do." Yi Wei-Yang said. Let me. Please. Fuck, let me. Tianqi gave up. What kind of expert is this? Extremely makes people collapse the image of the two words expert. Alright, next listen to my command. Yi Wei Young only needed to blink. Even the equipment was changed. Hand raised a cross-shaped pendant. Silver light was dazzling. One look, and you can tell it's not ordinary. Fuck, this guy has been acting all this time. Tian Chi and the others finally realized. On this side, Yi Wei Young was commanding while sending a message to the guild. Wrong. The team occupying the other end only has Jun Mo Xiao as an expert. The rest are all fakes. Too late. Jun Mo Xiao has already been tricked by Lan Shigo. The record has gone up by 5 minutes. Too scary, absolutely, because that guy joined. Aish. Yi Wei Yang sighed. What are you doing? Fuck, I have to help those fake experts pass this level. Yi Wei Yang replied. At the same time, after the record was changed, the team that originally set the record, Zhongkeatang, was also in an uproar. 20 minutes, 24 seconds 11. Damn it, this is too absurd. That Lanha guy doesn't have this kind of strength. The leader of Zhongkeatang's reclamation team, also the expert who previously led the team to break the record, Xa Qianzi, strongly stated his opinion. It's that Jun Ma Xiao guy? It must have been because this guy joined that the other team's strength was raised. The expert on the same team, Hat Duowei, said. Fuck, let me ask Lanha. After Xa Qianzi finished speaking, he sent a message to Lanha. All of them were high-level experts from the 3 major guilds, acquaintances in the divine domain, and had already added each other as good friends. Hey, didn't notice. You guys already got a hold of such a great expert. XATN 2 sent to Lamha. Ha. Are you convinced yet? 20 minutes, 24 seconds 11. You're level 25 now. Can you break it? Lamha was pleased. In front of the experts he was a bit tormented. But outside, he was very proud. Happy. Lamha thought to himself.